Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Mark's Remarks on WRAU 90.3 FM. So we are back for another week, trying to find new sports and new personalities to invite on the show. And so this week, I was able to bring on a great guest. So in the studio today, I am joined with the Rhode Island women's track and field head coach, Coach Laurie Feit-Melnick. Coach Melnick, how are you doing today?
Good, Mark. Thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course. It's a pleasure. I was very excited to have you on the show. Women's track and field is a program that has been very interesting to me. Last semester and last season of the show, I had Hasna Baji on the show, and I heard a lot about you. I heard a lot about the program in general and how it's grown over the past few years. So I was very excited and eager to have you come on the show because I love to have coaches that can offer a different sort of insight into how the program operates and just some of the ways that from their point of view, how the program has grown and what work that they've put in to grow the program. So, I mean, just to start out with, I'm curious, you've been the head coach for the track and field program here at URI for just over 30 years now. So I just going back, turning the clock back, I mean, just what was some of the factors that made you want to pursue coaching? And was it always something that you were interested
in? Good question. I'd say when I went to Rutgers undergrad, that's where I got my bachelor's degree, and then I ran at Rutgers. My goal was to be a physical therapist. That was kind of like my goal in life at that point in time. Obviously, things change. My mom passed away when I was a freshman in college of cancer, and kind of life just changed, really changed drastically. And I decided, PT is not the way I want to go. My grades, kind of suffered my freshman year when she passed away. And then I made some changes, and I decided to go more into teaching PE and health. And then I ended up staying like an extra semester at Rutgers and ran an extra season across. I taught phys ed and health in the state of New Jersey for about a year and a half. And then there was an opportunity to go to Miami, University of Ohio in Oxford, Ohio, to get my master's in exercise science. And that was obviously leaving, a full-time teaching position. And I had coached at the high school level, but it was a great opportunity to do something different, coach at the collegiate level, and be it was the first full-time assistant at Miami of Ohio. And so I went there in '89, 3 years at Miami of Ohio, met John Melnick, who is my husband, and we worked together here at URI. Moved out here in '92. In 1992, I had the opportunity here to be acting head coach because Lauren Anderson, the former coach for 15 years, was moving into administration. And some of my friends had said, Laurie, you should apply for that. And it was Ellie Lemaire at the time. Ellie Lemaire had been she's an amazing female is just an amazing person. So Ellie Lemaire had been the associate AD, the senior women administrator. So Lauren was moving into her position, Lauren Anderson. Ellie was retiring after many years at the University of Rhode Island. She's really a pioneer with women's athletics. And then I had the opportunity to be acting head coach for a year, not knowing if it would stay or I would, leave this position. And it didn't, obviously. So Lauren stayed in her position in administration. And then I was the second full-time head women's cross country and track and field coach. And so it's hard to believe that was 1992. And as times have changed since the 30 years.
That's fascinating. And I mean, it seemed like that was just like a rather quick progression, having switched up the careers pretty fast and then really only taking like five or so true years as an assistant coach, and then being asked to undertake what I imagine was probably just like an interim head coaching position at the start. Was it at all kind of nervy for you when you first started?
Yeah, it was definitely a big move. Because when I was at Miami of Ohio, I mean, the one year the head coach did take a leave, and then I guess I had the title as like interim head, at Miami of Ohio that one year. But yeah, it was only 3 years coaching there, and then I did have a semester coaching under my head coach at Rutgers during fall program. That was like during the fall, so it wasn't a whole lot of experience, but I think that what it was is that they gave me an opportunity. You know what I mean? So Lauren Anderson and Ellie Lemaire gave me an opportunity as a young, because I was only like 28, 29, or well, maybe I shouldn't say my age, right? So at the time in 1992, and definitely it was a chance. It was a wonderful opportunity to learn and grow and build a program. I mean, the program was built, but we still needed a ton of, it was a lot different than I feel like where it's the support and everything has come now.
And yeah, so I mean, could you more expand on just like what the state of the program was like when you had gone in? Because obviously the program has grown exponentially since your arrival. You've led the program to 9 Atlantic 10 championships, but the first one having come in the year 2000. So obviously there was a bit of a growing period where the team was probably competitive, but you still had to get those pieces in order to fully get across the finish line, no pun intended. But just like, what was the state of the program looking like in terms of campus culture, campus support, and so on when you first took the reins in Kingston?
Well, what's interesting is when we started the program, we really only had about 14 people here on the team. So we had very low numbers. And actually the first outdoor Atlantic 10 track and field championships was 1998. So when we came here, we did have an indoor championship, but there was no outdoor. And the numbers, like I said, were very low. And so now we carry about 50 women on the team. We'll carry, it could be 55, but right now we're around 50, and that's to all events, sprints, jumps, throws, hurdles, distance, mid distance, pole vault, etc. So definitely I would say it took a while to build some depth, and just kind of build some support. And but I mean, Lauren Anderson did an amazing job with the program prior to myself arriving, and it was just, like I said, low numbers, and you need depth if you want to win championships.
And so then as that depth is increasing, when you're going on these like recruiting visits and you're trying to convince a number of these prospective athletes to come join the University of Rhode Island and try and really expand this program, what's that like? Or how has that changed rather from the start of your career to now in how you attempt to recruit some of these athletes to come run in Kingston?
I think in one way, I don't know if I'm answering this, but it's changed if we've been here a long time. My husband and I have been here a long time. So those who know us know that we're going to take care of their child, or if it's a parent asking, that we're not going to, how would I say, feed them to the wolves. We want them to be academics are the top priority, and then athletics. So we want our teams to have GPAs of 3.4, 3.5 or better. That's cross country and track and field. And we know that it is an amazing university with over 100 majors. So we are clearly pushing the amazing University of is an amazing place to live, an amazing place to get an education. So I would say that for coaches that have known us for a while, then they know that, they'll send their people our way, or they'll trust that we'll take care of them. Mark, it's kind of funny, or this is the first year that I actually have the daughter of one of my former athletes.
Oh, really?
So, yes. So Haley LaRosa is on the team, and she's a freshman from Newburyport High School. She's a distance runner. Haley's mom, Erin Moon, ran here, and her dad, Paul LaRosa ran for John Copeland on the men's side. So that is kind of unique. That is the first time.
Yeah, that's one of
Means that
that's pretty interesting.
means that I'm
That's not something you really see in that many sports. I mean, it's a testament to just your longevity as a coach and the success that you've had in order to maintain your position as the head coach, but then just the rapport that you've built with your athletes to then, when they eventually have children, be like, hey, I think you should go look at this university. Like, I ran here and the coaching staff is fantastic and so on. That's really interesting.
shows that I'm old, but yes, it's a good thing. It's pretty cool.
In terms of recruiting by location, I've seen this a lot with multiple different coaches that I've spoken to, is that there is sometimes a focus on trying to get local kids to join your program. And it's obviously the easiest in trying to recruit them because they're only a few miles away. Some of the high schools in Narragansett and South Kingstown, North Kingstown, and schools across Rhode Island, since it's a small state. Did you find yourself at any point? I mean, looking at the roster right now, there are a few names that pop up that are from Rhode Island, particularly from like Narragansett, like South Kingstown. Were there ever times where you tried to really make it your goal to focus on local recruiting, or was there just a wide net that you had casted and it just so happened that you found a number of athletes from the state of Rhode Island?
I think honestly, we're constantly trying to recruit from this state. It's a small state, but there's a lot of talent, and we never like limit in the sense that we're not, we're looking all over. We've got people from New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Ohio. Obviously we've had international, we have some international now. So we will never want to eliminate a state, and Rhode Island has a lot of talents. So we've got some young ones and some older ones now. I mean, you said Hasna just finished up, which she was an amazing student athlete. And now we're just, continue to recruit in-state as well as out, and looking internationally. We're looking at someone from Andorra right now. Have you ever heard of Andorra?
Yeah. As a self-proclaimed geography nerd, I have heard of Andorra. That's pretty interesting because you don't see that many athletes come out of that very, very tiny country, yes, nestled in between France and Spain. But that's really interesting. And it's funny that you bring up the international aspect of recruiting, because this is the next thing I wanted to talk about, was your experiences working at the World Cross Country Championships, working with Team USA in 1998, and then the World University Games in 2001. It's interesting because I feel like that unless you're ingrained in the cross country and like track world and you follow it closely, I feel like those are competitions that a lot of people don't really know about, and it's not as mainstream as some other global competitions, unless like I said, you're in the cross country track and field sort of sphere. So, I mean, just tell me, what were some of your experiences like working with Team USA during those competitions, and just, like being able to travel to Marrakesh, being able to travel to China? Just what was that like?
Well, first of all, let me update you on Marrakesh. Yeah, I mean, Morocco was amazing. That was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life, and I was fortunate to be named the junior leader, and I think at that point in time it was like I remember I was nominated by Lou Juicing at the time, who was the Cornell director, and then Roberta Anthis, who was still at Rutgers, who was my coach, helped me to get that appointment. And it was honestly an amazing experience, and that was 1998, to meet elite, the elite, because basically, you're all traveling together, or you're meeting up, but you're traveling with I was the junior leader. Then there's the older, like the elite professional women and men. And so it was really, really amazing and eye-opening. We went to the souks, which is where all like the shopping, and then, the course was amazing. And so it was amazing. Yeah, I will treasure that for the rest of my life. So that was 1998. And I don't know if I answered enough about that, but to update you on and world champs is like the highest level, you could pretty much go, aside from like, obviously you're going Olympics, but this was cross country. So it's like, it's cross country. And then Beijing, I was appointed to Beijing, and that would have been the World University Games. I did not go because I had my daughter in July of 2001. So I had to turn down that appointment because it couldn't happen. I couldn't travel. So I did not go to China. No.
Seems like an important enough reason, though, to pass up an opportunity like that. But having had the experience in Marrakesh, having had the experience to coach during such a big championship, obviously was within the first couple of years during your tenure at URI. Were there any like lessons and experiences that you took from that event, from that experience, that you then carried over to your coaching at URI when you came back?
Definitely like the management, like there was a lot of planning for that. Obviously USA Track and Field did most of the planning, but I'm reaching out to I think it was 6 women that were the junior leaders, and I'm communicating. So I would just say there was a lot of reassuring that, I'm there as their team manager in a sense, or their junior leader, but I'm not directly coaching them, because they're coming from either, they could be a senior in high school, they could be a freshman in college, depending on, their age, because they were the juniors. But it was definitely a lot of organizational skills and people, meeting people from all over. And then when you're there, you're also meeting other teams, which is kind of neat, like, oh, there's the Irish team and there's the team from, this country. And it really was phenomenal. And the pictures that I have, we had, actually, I'm looking at a picture now, we're in the tent, and then we had our Moroccan like representatives, to help us to negotiate. I can actually remember one. This doesn't have to do with what your question is, because I always like ramble on, but there was this one situation where we went into a bank and we were kind of just touring like the area and the architecture, and we're in the bank, and then one of the senior leaders took a picture. Oh, you're not allowed to take a picture in a bank. And then it was just like, whoa, okay, here comes the security. And it was just like, so, and then one other time I remember we were probably just eating lunch someplace. And I happened to notice like the 5 to 10 random cats that were like roaming around while we're eating. So life is just different. And it's like, I think it's so important if you can travel to like get out and see different parts of our world.
That's awesome. As someone who loves to travel myself, I've had the opportunity to go to a number of different countries early on in high school. And that's like fueled my travel bug. Like once I graduate, it's going to be traveling to countries like Morocco. Morocco's one that I'm very interested in experiencing at some point. But the culture is so fascinating, and it's interesting to see how that culture translates when you have international students coming over to Kingston. Because like I've had the pleasure of talking to a number of different international students from countries across Europe, Latin America, and so on. And it's interesting to see how URI becomes almost like a microcosm of different nationalities, and how those nationalities could then impact the athletes that are already from here, like exposing them to new cultures, new ways of thinking, and so on, and how it can really help form a very distinct team identity. Do you feel that like in over time, when you've had international students come in, you've seen their sort of them teaching other athletes about their cultures, while your American athletes are helping teach them the ways of the U.S.?
Yeah, we've had athletes from Sweden and Ireland in the past, and I do feel it is amazing. I mean, I actually would. My husband and I have been talking about it. It'd be really nice to continue to recruit right now, and have some more international, women student athletes on our program. And I do think it's amazing for everyone else to just learn how different cultures are and backgrounds. And I mean, we have a lot of diversity just in general on our team, even in the sense of so many different backgrounds and so many different event groups, but coming when you have a team of 50 women, you know, they are coming from all different socioeconomic backgrounds, religions, everything, you know. So, but it is amazing when you have that international group and they can bring in their experiences, you know. So that's why
And
we got to recruit both. Yeah.
and with that recruiting, obviously comes exceptional talent, and then with talent comes championships. And looking back at your profile and just the accolades of the team has done, the championships the team has won, like after the turn of the millennia, 5 indoor track and field titles between 2000 and 2002, and then 2004 and 2005, and then 4 outdoor titles from 2002 to 2005. So a little bit of a mini dynasty there. As the team was successful after the turn of the century. So once those championships started to roll in and you was consistently competitive and the team was really just showing up to all of those different meets and fighting tooth and nail to be truly successful, how did it feel having been there for 10, 12 years prior, knowing all the work that you had put in, that it was starting to truly pay off in a big way with those championships?
Well, I think when you have an amazing group of women who are, you know, obviously everyone's working hard to reach the same common goal, you know, and then sometimes it's as luck and opportunity meet, you know, that type of thing where everything falls into line. But no, we haven't, you know, won in a while, I should say, but we've been, hopefully our goal is always to be in the top 3, or at least to be as high up as possibly as we can. And yeah, it's definitely an amazing feeling to win championships. What we try and remind everyone is it's still the process. So like right now, if you only focus on winning, then that takes away controlling what you control in the process. So definitely, I'm not saying that we don't want to win and contend for championships. We do, but we also want to develop and continue to make improvements as individuals and as the team. So we're, you know, super looking forward to this year, and obviously we'll cherish what we have from the past and hopefully continue to contend.
And so looking back to recent years, you've had a lot of success recently in the New England championships, and like it was New England champions coming in first place in the competition in 2021 and in 2023. And it was funny because during those years, you weren't able to win the Atlantic 10. You were competitive. I think for 2 of those, two of the past couple of years, finishing on the podium, but in the thick of things, but weren't able to win the championship. But then just a week or 2 later, you go on and you're able to win the entire New England championship, which boasts a much larger field, and some may consider maybe that makes it a little bit more difficult. Is there a different approach when you're looking at these different competitions, or what are things that you see that maybe have allowed you to be so successful in New England championships in recent years rather than also taking home championships in the Atlantic 10?
I would say, well, in all honesty, this past outdoor win when we were at Northeastern and the New England championships was, how would I say, we were kind of like, wow, really? You know, I mean, like in the sense of, you know, we're obviously contending, trying to be like a top 3 or a top 5 team in the New Englands. But when, you know, we're checking out the points and we're like, wow, Molly Savior just was, you know, second in the 10K, and or we're looking at like, hey, we're getting points from here and our jumps, and, you know, looking at every point. It was a little bit of a surprise, and we'll take it. You know, I'm not saying negatively in any ways. The different organizations, you know, and the Atlantic 10 the Atlantic 10 is just very, very competitive. There's 15 schools. It's kind of like a totally different meet than the New England championships, to be honest with you. And obviously but we'll, we want to contend for both for both the A10s and the New England. So in 21, regarding the New England championships, I remember that was still a crazy COVID year where and I can remember we had part of our team flew to the Atlantic 10 championships at Mason, but part of our team had to drive down because they were quarantined because someone was exposed to COVID. Like all this is crazy, like some of the stories. But so we did have a phenomenal A10 meet in 2021 when Christina McClure and Lotta Black were A10 performers. No, we didn't win, but we had a phenomenal meet, and I believe we were third. If I'm correct on that, I could be wrong. My memory's bad.
I believe third is
third.
Where you guys finished.
Yeah, and then so definitely, sometimes with the New England meet, you can have so many teams. It could be small representation, but you can have, okay, we've got 40 teams and there's representation for, it could be bigger, Division I, Division II, and Division III, obviously. So the New England organization is just a little different, but we want to continue to contend and do the best that we can with both A10s and New Englands for sure. And then our end goal is, to get as many people to the first round of nationals and the second round of nationals as possible.
And so as we sort of round this off, there was another thing that I wanted to talk about. And in terms of being a woman in sport, being a woman coach in sport, obviously having with the experience that you've been in the game for a very long time. And obviously women in sport has grown over the past few decades. And you've been able to witness that firsthand, and honored as the URI Women's Coach of the Year for 4 consecutive years between 1999 and 2002. Which, I mean, just firstly, having been able to win that for 4 consecutive years, just what was that acknowledgement like to you? How did you feel when the university presented you with that acknowledgement, and what did that mean to you in terms of your work leading up to that point?
Well, I totally, appreciate all of that URI has given me and the opportunities to grow and develop as a coach here. Sometimes it's like a blink of an eye, and it's so many years ago, Mark, so I have to think back. But definitely, I guess I feel like as a coach, I totally feel like I never know, how would I say, there's so much to know and still learn. I mean, I directly work with distance, and then the jumpers. So I will never ever feel like I know, I know it. I know which workout, I feel like there is so much growth and there's so much to learn, and to continue learning as a coach. I feel like we have to continue to, just keep fighting for everything. And I have to say that this year, or the 2 years that we've had Dr. Parlange and Mary at the university, has been just a blessing. And we will be getting an outdoor track because of Dr. Parlange and Thor Bjorn, who have been pushing for this. And it's really hard to run a program, to be honest with you, it's just hard with not having an outdoor facility. So looking forward to having the opportunity to get that. And I don't know exactly when, but maybe it's in a couple of years before they break ground, but it will happen. So, but definitely, you just have to keep, I would say, plugging away and pushing for things and trying to fundraise, obviously, so that we can be at the, help our student athletes so that they have the best student athlete experience possible. But no, I appreciate if URI, the awards, but it's really, I think, all about developing student athletes and trying to hopefully that they have the best student athlete, like I said, experience as possible.
And so then, as one of the longest, if not the longest tenured female coach on campus, as the years have gone by, URI has brought in a number of women's coaches in recent years, like with Tammy Reese. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the women's volleyball head coach, but
Angel.
an Angel, yes.
Angel, yeah.
Her appointment and so on, really symbolizing a true growth and a true push towards incorporating more women into sport at URI. And just as someone who has seen this progression over the past few decades, I mean, just what are some of your thoughts and impressions on how women in sport has grown at URI, and just what are some of your overall feelings at the moves that the university has made to get more women into these powerful positions in sport?
Well, I think that, you know, I mean, to be honest with you, one thing that, you know, I definitely feel it is so important that we have women representing women's athletics. So, but we want to have good people no matter what, whether it's a male or a female, whatever we want to have the priority set so that they're going to take care of the student athlete, and we're going to, you know, try and, you know, I should say, it's not win at all costs in the sense, in my philosophy, it's yes, we're trying to win championships, but we're trying to build student athletes and build a program and have our priorities in the right place, I should say. Like the hire of Tammy Reese is amazing. And I just read, you know, something that she had put on, it was online. It was, I think are you still there? Okay, sorry. Just some of Tammy's quotes on her developing a team culture, I think is amazing. You know, team bonding, team culture, and they have so many different people from so many different countries, and obviously the US too. So definitely I feel it's very important to have women role models. And if you saw, like, it's so cool at the cross country championships, NC State won by 1 point, and Laurie was an NC State grad, and she's been coaching there for a long time. So, but obviously we're trying to build programs and just make sure that we have good coaches in place that are going to take care of our student athletes. And as you know, like, I directly work with my husband. He's the associate head coach. On the head coach, we have separate programs. We're only on the women's side, but so it's all about. And then Crystal, who is a 2011 grad, is my throws coach, and Crystal has been coaching with us really since she finished up in 2011 as our throws coach. So it's definitely important to have representation, and there are definitely important to have women role models in this profession.
All right. And I 100% agree. I feel like that the hirings that the university has made have been nothing short of fantastic. I've had the pleasure of speaking with a number of them, a number of the newer hires, and they've been great. And just in terms of their character, but also just their pedigree and what they bring to the sporting atmosphere at URI. And I'm very excited to see how just the women's sort of sporting sort of sphere grows at URI. And I feel like that there's a lot of good that can really come out of it. So before we sign off, I want to just hear a little bit of some of your expectations for this upcoming season. I know that we had talked about earlier that still haven't had the chance to get fully acclimated with the meet that you had previously this past week, but just coming out of last year, a top 4 finish at the Atlantic 10 championships, and then winning the New England championship first out of 42 teams. I mean, with the off season that you've had, looking at your roster and just sort of the vibes that have been brought over from last year, just how are you feeling, and what do you anticipate is to come for your program in 2024?
We're looking forward we had a solid meet this past weekend with we had throwers at Brown, and the rest of the team was at the track at New Balance in Boston. So it was a good opener. Definitely looking forward to indoor and outdoor. We did graduate a few top-notch people, in the sense that Trinity Smith, our school record holder, and at first round of prelims, part of our 4x4 that won indoors. Like, Trinity Smith is our student coach, so she is finishing up her grad degree, and then Bethany Duluth as well is finished up her eligibility. So sometimes, when you graduate some big point scorers and some other people, it's somewhat of a building year, but I feel that we have to have the goal of trying to be top 3 in the conference. This will be the first time ever in the Atlantic 10 history that we will be traveling to a neutral site. So we will head to Virginia Beach for our February Atlantic 10 championships at the end of the month of February. We hosted last year, and it's kind of interesting that it won't be either. We hosted for many, many years. But the last several years, it's been an alternate, we'd either be at Mason or at our place, but we're going to a bank facility, so that'll be interesting. And then we're at Mason in the spring. So definitely trying to build and hopefully be top 3. Hopefully we can win another New England championship, and then keep recruiting, because obviously we have to keep adding in the depth. So definitely looking forward to a great year ahead of us, and I'll keep you posted. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Coach Melnick, I really appreciate you giving me some of your time today to hear more about your story and just how the program has grown during your tenure. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how your team performs this coming year. Track and field, since I've come to URI, has become a bit of a fascination of mine. So I'm very excited to see how all of it goes. And I am actually very excited to see how the championships go in Virginia Beach, obviously at a banked track, because URI doesn't have one. So I remember that was some of the talking points from last year's championship, when they were saying that it was going to be moved. So I'm eager to see how all of that goes. But again, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm very happy that I was able to finally have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for your time, Mark.
Of course. Well, everybody else, thank you for watching. I hope you listening rather. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will catch you all in the next show next week.